spot in the top 16 with now a 7-2 record in the Swiss. It's an absolutely incredible run. And then I say that, we've got Terrence, who's undefeated at this point. These players are just they have so much stamina, they have so much talent. To get to this point after such long days has to feel incredible.
Terrence went 7-1 at Montreal last time and then won it.
Yep.
And here he is again. This is a Grand Prix. It was a bit of a smaller event last time, so slightly less strong field. But he's just gone, okay, well, you tell one of the less strong field, let's just go through the Swiss again, show you all what I'm about. Terrence, one of the big ones. But Cydonia is what we're here for this game. Canadians going well in Canada.
Who would have thought? But that is only the first match for this round. We've also got Muzzy taking on Chrisleblanc, and both of these players are 6-2 as well. Zalay has already gotten his spot in the top 16. Now Muzzy very much wants to meet him there. This is a win and in, lose, and it's very unlikely that you'll make it through to the top 16 based on tiebreakers. So let's take a look at these two players' picks and bans. Chrisleblanc, of course, made it through to the top 16 at DreamHack Atlanta just a short time ago. And Muzzy, everybody knows the Muzz. He's a phenomenal player, formerly of Team Luminosity Gaming, played at the HCT Spring Championships in Shanghai, but he doesn't have his World Championship spot left. These points that you can earn from this tournament mean so much to him. So, Druids are banned, Muzzy's got Shaman, Priest, Paladin, and Chrisleblanc has Warrior, Priest, Paladin. So the Shaman and Warrior being the differences there.
It's going to go through that Muzzy Zalay situation one more time. Sorry for those of you who have listened to 9 rounds of us talking about this, but it's important.
This is a year of work coming to this point.
Right, and it is basically a direct feeder to the World Championship if one of them can get a substantial lead. Muzzy is 1 point ahead, which is basically 0 points because it's so tight.
It's basically even. Anybody can get that extra point.
Right, both players have been getting top 10s over and over again on ladder. They have 3 servers to do it on, so the chances are they'll make it again. Getting number 1's hard, so they tend to be tying on ladder each month. And the only 2 events left that really matter, outside of HCT, which is a direct qualifier, is Denver and this. We're going to have a look to see how Muzzy gets on with getting those points right now.
Or is Chrisleblanc going to take his opportunity away from him? So we did just see Chris in the series in the last round. He did pick up a win, and now he is here. And we saw this sort of interestingly teched Highlander Priest. He's got Mukla Tyrant of the Veil. He's going for really explosive damage at the end of the game alongside Prophet Velen. But Muzzy is going to try to get a win with his Murloc Paladin.
Chris mixing it up. He did start with his Pirates against Shadow Moon, so aware that Muzzy is going to be researching that sort of thing, mixing it up a little bit, opening up with the Priest. Just to finish the thing about Muzzy there, so there's only those 2 events left. And yesterday out in the floor, I was talking to Muzzy and Zalay, like near each other. They're actually friends.
Oh, yeah.
We're making out they're mortal enemies or something. They're really good friends. And both of them think they've got an edge because they're going to outdo the other one on the ladder. And it's not just memes. They really, truly believe they are better than the other one at laddering. And
even though they both got the exact same finish last season. Not the exact same rank,
but
amount
6,
of
or
points.
Something like that, yeah. Top 10 being all they need.
Well, I would say that Muzzy got a reasonably good matchup here. Murloc Paladin has insane swarm potential in the early game, and it's tough for the Priest to draw the exact resources that it needs to remove board after board from the Murloc Paladin and run them out of resources.
Yeah, and then you get the Acolyte nightmare against you, where it's just going to draw a bunch of cards. And that is exactly what you don't want the Priest to get, because the closer they get to that Anduin, that Raza, closer they get to doing that thing that they do. We're running out of ways to describe that thing they do, Cora.
Oh, we've seen it enough. I think they know by now.
They do that thing, usually.
And then somebody's dead.
Then somebody is dead. Chris managing not only to draw cards there, but use the drawn cards to clear and keep the Acolyte on the board.
Well, this is sort of a weird Murloc-less Paladin start from Muzzy. Ideally, you have Tidecaller, Rockpool, War Leader as the first 3, and then you lead into Megasaur, and you just win the game on like turn 5 or 6. But Muzzy didn't have quite as good of a start, and we do see the Wind Fury effect and the Corpse Taker. We saw the Stormwatcher in the Mulligan. Yeah. So this is the same Paladin that Orange was playing at HCT Europe just a few weekends ago when he did qualify for the championship. Yeah,
Muzzy's not that scared of strange builds. If he likes a build that he sees, he plays it a few times and actually enjoys it. He's a player that is not scared to turn up to a big tournament and say, I think this build's fine. Maybe as opposed to Zalay, who is much more likely to bring the build of the deck.
Okay.
I feel that Muzzy is just a little bit less scared of that. I'm not saying that's a good or a bad thing. It's just different traits between the two.
This is, although both builds are popular, Corpse Taker versus Stonehill Defender, I think, is the big difference in these two. It does seem like Corpse Taker is kind of edging out Stonehill Defender as far as what I have been seeing. A lot of people are very into the idea of a Wind Fury Corpse Taker, and if you can land this card early, put Blessing of Kings, put Spike Ridge Steed, buff it with Bone Mare, you can deal an incredible amount of damage. It can just win you games. But I have seen also a lot of games where you get Stormwatcher in your opening hand and then you don't get Wind Fury on your Corpse Taker and you just have a 4-8 for the entire game.
Yeah, and it's not doing anything, and this Paladin deck needs stuff on the board. We say it every single round. If you haven't got stuff on the board, all those buffs become useless. And Stormwatcher is the most useless of all, because it's not on the board ever.
If you can, in some universe, land it against Priest, it's actually pretty good.
Sure, if the Priest isn't proactive enough and just lets you put it on the board, actually, like you say, it becomes a really powerful card, because then you either leave it as a 4-8 forever or just buff it up with a Bone Mare and hit you for, I don't know, 4+4 plus ×2 plus some numbers. A lot of damage.
But right now, Muzzy is forced to deal with this board state somehow, and Sunkeeper comes down, leaves the least amount of threats on Chrisleblanc's side, but Muzzy is still struggling a little bit to catch up, and Chris is just at such a resource advantage that Muzzy's gonna have a hard time making his minions matter. Yeah, something that Chris's build is enabling him to do against all of the slightly faster decks is actually have a board presence with that Twilight Drake and with bits and pieces hanging around. It's not so great in the mirror, in my opinion, even though Twilight Drake's a nuisance, but you've got so much wasted removal, you can get rid of it. But against all these other decks, it's a lot more solid. But it feels like a bit more of a ladder build. You might be right. Maybe it's a little bit more consistent across the board, but as far as tournament priests go, you're mostly seeing heavy anti-aggression in the early game and then the late game combo package. Yeah,
that combo package.
The stuff.
Stop stealing my words. I invented that word. Actually,
the word stuff?
The word stuff. Can I copyright a word?
No.
Oh.
Not a word that's already been made. Sorry.
I spelled it differently with a P and an H. I don't, but hey, I've got to try.
I don't know if
I'm in Canada, who knows what works?
They're never going to invite us back, Neil.
I'm sorry, Canada.
All right, so Pint-Size Potion. Anyway. Pint-Size opens up some combinations with Cabal Shadow Priest, with Potion of Madness. Just gives Chrisleblanc that many more options to disrupt Muzzy's board.
But he needs them right now because the 7-Eleven is open. And it's come to pay you a visit. It really is. The thing is with the Paladin, it doesn't seem to get over the line very often. It gets into these board states so often that looks really threatening, and then it just doesn't happen.
Okay, so Chris went ahead with the Kazakus Potion for 1. It's normally deal 3 damage, freeze a random enemy, but with the Blood Mage it was 4, and he just shot it right to face. Yeah,
you'd think he'd pick on something there to hope to get rid of it later. The rope was getting mighty... Scary. Maybe he just pointed and let go and hoped it hit something.
That's a little surprising. I think if he had had more time there, you can find reasoning for damaging both of these minions. Yeah. Perhaps the Tarim if you're hoping to draw into Dragonfire Potion. I could see not wanting to damage Bone Mare if you want to Pint-Size and take it with Cabal.
But yeah, there's no reason at all to damage face. You're not winning this game.
You're not the aggro deck.
Well, maybe he feels that 4 damage with this Anduin.
With Prophet Velen and Anduin in hand, now you are the aggro deck.
Sure.
Now 4 damage to face makes perfect sense.
Okay.
But you're also facing down a lot of damage from Muzzy now. Do you have the liberty of time?
Yeah, like
with Shadow Reaper, you do.
Muzzy was quite clever about this turn. He made it so that he knows that if Anduin comes down, half the board's going, but the other half is a mighty good board. And it's just going to be undealt with because of how Anduin has to be played to remove the 2 big guys.
So Bone Mare and Tarim are gone, but you do have a Wind Fury Corpse Taker, and there's Bone Mare number 2. All right, so that is essentially 8 damage additional onto this Corpse Taker.
Per turn.
Yeah, it's 14 going into Chris's face, and then you can drop down the second rock pool, buff up the other rock pool, and now Chris is hurting.
He doesn't need long, though. He needs to find his Raza, which is... Yeah, okay, he needs to find his Raza.
He needs as long as it takes to find Raza and then 1 or 2 additional turns.
And with this build, having lost the board and having slightly fewer spells, Muzzy is looking good.
Well, now Corpse Taker plus Stormwatcher is looking brilliant. I mean, this is how the deck is supposed to work.
Right.
But when you get what you need, the blowout potential is huge. The aggression is much more than if you were playing Stonehill Defender.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to win Muzzy the game most likely here. But, again, only because he kept the board. Would he have won anyway with the board? Maybe not. That's done a lot of extra damage. That 8 is a chunk of extra damage here.
Chris can drop Novice, kill off the Corpse Taker, but then Muzzy's still left with 7 power on board. He would need to draw an additional 7 or have an additional 7 somehow. And with Tarim already gone, you've seen a Rallying Blade, you've seen 2 Bone Mares, like double Blessing of Kings or Blessing of Kings Rallying Blade is the only lethal option for Muzzy this turn. So I think Chris feels pretty safe that he's getting 1 more turn at least. 1
more turn to find...
If he had
innovate, Raza, innovate.
If he picks up the 2nd Pint-Sized Potion, he can actually steal Tyrion. But that's good enough, because with a Gluttonous Ooze in hand, you can heal for 5. And can you get the 2 additional shots into the Bone Mare to kill with the Novice? So shoot first, Death. Yeah. Shoot, Gluttonous Ooze, take the Bone Mare. Or
that's one heck of a Hearthstone turn. And Muzzy's out of synergy for his cards as well. That's... Oh, don't point it there. Don't do that. It's not that late yet.
Chris may have managed to stabilize. It was looking really, really tough there for a second, but that death off the top was exactly what he needed.
This might be relevant. At least he can get something good going on with the double Murlocs in a turn, plus the Megasaur. Maybe it's one last chance to build a massive board.
You've had the Murlocs in hand for many turns now. It's not going to get any better than this, but you haven't seen Dragonfire Potion yet. You haven't seen Shadow Word Horror yet. And you're facing the serious threat of, there's just a Shadow Reaper hand doing active. No Raza yet, however.
Just see what Muzzy had there. I didn't quite catch it.
I think it's 3 attack, 3 health, and +1/+1.
Okay, he's just going with...
all-out aggression.
Yeah, if you've got me, you've got me, but I think you've been struggling to clear boards. No lethal. 18 damage is not usually much, but Raza's not been played, so it makes it a lot harder. You're no way getting enough done at 2 mana a go.
No, is there a way that Chris clears off enough minions and can put up Tar Creeper? See, he can take 5 off the board just with the Gluttonous Ooze.
He's going to do a massive chunk, like you say. Is it enough? He can clear up here.
With the 2-mana hero power, it's making it much more difficult.
Yeah, we're so used to calculating just pew, pew, pew and doing those numbers, but actually at 2 mana a go, that's like...
stuff.
You've only got 2 pings, a maximum here.
So you can have 2 pings and Tar Creeper plus Vilespine. You don't want to play Vilespine, you don't want, or Vilefin, excuse me, because you don't want your hero power to be Murlocs. So you can Pint Size, but do you feel like throwing that away?
Now he's starting to get through cards which are designed to do other things. So he is going to survive.
Okay, elects to go with only the 1 hero power this turn.
That's got to be good.
Yep, that's going to be 5, 10, 12 through exact for Muzzy. Able to take game 1. Looked like he had Chris on the ropes for a while. Chris was able to stabilize, but ultimately, with no Raza, just not enough damage to be dealt from the hero power to clean up these minions. No Dragonfire in sight. Muzzy's going to take game 1.
Game 1, and that Priest of Feast was punished there because Mookla never found time to be played. And so there's no fuel for the Priest, and no Raza is... You don't have to find Raza and Anduin on the first 10 turns every single game.
No.
But no Raza meant that he just couldn't deal with the board. Muzzy picked up a timely second Bone Mare to get that Wind Fury effect. And that 8 damage was absolutely key there because he only just fell over that finishing line. got it done. And the Priest is down, and that puts you in such a good position. It feels like you're more than 1-0 ahead when Priest is beaten.
Priest is the most threatening class other than Druid, in theory. We've also seen Pirate Warrior do an incredible amount of work. Obviously, we just saw Sidonia 3-0 with Pirate Warrior in the last series. But if you've got Priest out of the way, I think you're feeling a lot better about your chances. At least it's not going to be a 3-0 sweep or 3-0 reverse with the Priest. But looking at some of the differences between Muzzy and Chris's Paladins, Chris's Paladin already has the Cold Light and the Grimscale Chum in the opening hand. It's going to be a lot more Murloc intense, a lot more aggressive that way.
Yeah, we saw last game, actually, he can just refill his hand as well. So there might not even be a Tyrion in this. This is a very flat-out kind of deck, which... It's interesting, it gives you that guaranteed extra start, but the slower one can keep up with you card for card and then outvalue you if it survives the first 3 or 4 turns. I know I just defined how mid-range versus aggro works, but because a lot of the cards are identical, if the slower one gets a fairly decent draw, it does just tend to come out on top.
And if Chris has simply run out of resources, then Muzzy will have the bigger threats at the end of the game. He'll have the Bone Mares, the Tyrion.
But he hasn't got there just yet. Chris has drawn enough stuff. Those early seers can make life a real nuisance, even on 1 or 2 Murlocs.
Muzzy can go for the True Silver this turn, but Redemption is very strong when the target in front is a Wicker Flame Burn Bristle.
Yeah, and going into that crucial turn 6, you know, he hasn't got Spike Ridge yet, but setting up to make sure things live. And not wanting to play True Silver, realizing that the Wicker Flame is basically 2 minions and the True Silver is only going to kill 1 in a weird kind of way. Second Seer, though, is going to make these things hard to get through, but Tarim in hand will slow that down over the next couple of turns. With that Tarim in hand, we were going to see the True Silver now almost certainly, I should think, he says, as Finja comes in.
Yeah, you got Finja, it's turn 5. You can follow up with Tarim and ensure that Finja gets a kill on something.
Yep.
If that's the absolute only way that you can make it happen. I think Finja makes the most sense. You've got very heavy cards in hand, so if you can fish out some of your less valuable resources from your deck, get those onto the board for free, and ensure that you don't then draw those, I think that's definitely what you want to go with.
Yeah, you got the buffs going on as well. Okay, sure, I'm good. Finja versus Finja, how do you feel?
You could have gone Blessing of Kings. But now that you see a Finja on Chris's side, you do not want to give that Finja an automatic target, and Tarim is the only way to ensure that.
Right. So Chris can actually Finja the Tarim down as well with help here. With his War Leader as well. This is actually going to be a huge turn for Chris.
This is scary. He's playing Tidehunter as well.
Yeah, he's just playing every single Murloc and then
Is he playing Bilefin as well?
I didn't see one, but wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I imagine that the Tidehunter would be first choice because both the 2-1 and the 1-1 are Murlocs. But wow, this is an interesting build.
It's a way of playing
aggressive.
aggro Druid.
Without
Druid's getting banned.
Yeah.
It's basically that. It's the closest you can get to playing double Pirate Warrior, double aggro Druid. I wonder if his Druid is an aggro one.
Well, we'll never know.
Top 16, we might find out.
Then we would know.
He's looking good here, but still Muzzy on 24, weaponed up. Still definitely got a chance of getting into this, although things are getting pretty brutal over this side of the board.
If Muzzy can deal with this board, however, Chris is left with not much to work with.
Not much at all. I think that Muzzy's beyond the point of no return here, but I've thought that before.
No Equality Consecration in these decks. No big taunts that he has available to him right now.
Yeah, Consecration hardly ever appears at all, and if it does, it's often a one-off.
A one-of. And even then, against Murlocs, where a lot of them naturally have 3 health, then they become buffed up and they have more than 3 health.
It's weird.
It's really not actually a good card.
Tell people from 2014 when they visit.
The Consecration's not going to get the job done.
Don't play Consecration, it just doesn't do anything. One game apiece. And Chris is going to get a go with his Paladin.
He's going to have to bring this Paladin out yet again. And now Muzzy has a good idea of what he's up against, so he can hopefully choose his most anti-aggro deck. Remains to be seen as to what that is.
Yeah, basically Muzzy's plan here is, what do I want to match my Shaman against? The Priest you'll find just going through things with. Do I want to play my Shaman against the Paladin? Do I want to play against the Pirate Warrior, should it come to that? And then he'll play accordingly on that, I think.
Shaman honestly may even be better against Paladin than it is against Warrior. I think the Devolve Maelstrom lines up more nicely into the Murlocs than it does the Pirates, but Muzzy is going to elect to go with the Priest, and with tools like Potion of Madness, Holy Smite, and Doomsayer, can you really blame him?
Yeah, he gave a little nod when he saw his opening hand as well there.
All right, Muzzy,
you are facing your opponent, Muzzy. But sure, I mean, he just, why not? Your opponent's going to see it soon enough. There's nothing he can play around, really.
It's an A+ start. Grimscale Oracle as well. In your collection, search for Murlocs, put them all in.
Yeah.
Throw in Rallying Blades, Blessing of Kings, Divine Favor.
Go 6 and 2 at DreamHack.
There you go. Make it happen. People would not expect this. They would not expect to be going up against a Murloc Paladin that is this Murloc heavy.
Chris has the disadvantage. He was on stream last round, of course. That definitely doesn't help. But I mean, Muzzy's got the disadvantage. He's been on stream like every
time.
Because Muzzy's Lay's a big deal. And Muzzy's always been one-off elimination, so why not show him every single time? That's just how the mechanics of showing Swiss works. All right, so Chris, again, we saw last game, just has to build this fast early board. There's no point holding on. There is no hold on. You want to get the buff on as many Murlocs as possible.
And Muzzy did elect to go with the Doomsayer on turn 2 into the Tidehunter because, or into the 1/2 Murloc, excuse me, because if you leave that on board, Rockpool comes out, then you Doomsayer, it's too easy for your opponent to kill.
And you've got to get the board as Priest here, which is not fun because you just can't keep up with the removal of all of this stuff over and over again. The only way you can do that is by having a minion that can do it for you. And Priest the Feast and Raza are pretty good at that job.
Priest on 4, Raza on 5. You've got Novice Engineer and Shadow Visions as follow-up. I think Muzzy's cruising now. He's feeling pretty good, I'm sure.
I like the way that Finger used to be played as a combo card with only War Leader and Bluegill. And in Chris's deck, he's just, I'll have 2 random cards on the board out my deck. Any old Murloc will do.
The Finger 5, the good old days. But Shadow Word Horror off the top is going to stop any potential Finger dreams from being reality. Big pickup for Muzzy.
Divine Favor, not very good when you have 6 cards versus 2.
Oh, absolutely nothing is going Chris's way this game. He's already down to 17.
Yeah, Muzzy's just killing him.
Somehow the aggressor.
We actually saw Dr. J manage to nearly beat down Big Priest when he just went Northshire Cleric into 2-drop into 3-drop. They were all like garbage minions.
One off on a single turn. Couldn't quite make it happen.
It is interesting how when you choose to use your cards not for their intended purpose, how they can still get it done sometimes.
Yeah. 5 repetitive damage is just looking like it might be enough. Dragonfire can come out here and clear up the board. Muzzy will have to sacrifice his own Raza, but I think you're okay with that when you're shutting down pretty much your opponent's last possible push.
Yeah, given that your Raza's dying anyway, maybe you do just trade it into something and try and get a better state. I think he's going to try and defend this one more time to stop your opponent's final push as well. If you feel that you can actually keep a couple of things going. Like, these Murlocs aren't killing you anytime soon. I know it gets out of control quickly. They're not killing you anytime soon.
And Lorinda, we have actually just received word that both Walla Oompa and Coach Twisted that we saw in our final match yesterday have made the cut for top 16.
Awesome. Hope they get to play each other again.
A rematch of that set would be absolutely fantastic.
Twisted tweeted earlier today.
He did.
I played that Priest match perfectly.
He's a confident guy.
He just moved on with his life.
You know what? He got the job done. He shrugged it off, and he made it happen.
Yeah,
but
that is incredible stuff.
As fantastic as it is for both of them, if Muzzy's not in the top 16, it's going to be a big shame.
It is. It is getting close to getting there now. Chris is out of stuff. Down to the Divine Favor to draw into more cards, but...
Arcane Intellect for Paladin. Yeah.
Yeah, against the Priest, he's got good stuff. Muzzy's already defended this potion, and he's just taking over the board.
Yeah, though the Dragonfire would have been an easier clear and a full clear, if you can get that first board state gone while still keeping your Priest of the Feast healthy, then you have that panic button in the form of Dragonfire Potion if your opponent can make something else happen. Very smart to keep it.
And there's a good chance that cards like Tyrion aren't even in this deck.
Yeah.
With it being so all out, flat out at the start.
Now we're seeing Steward of Darkshire. I mean, this is...
There's a really good chance that Tyrion either isn't in this deck, but even if it is, there won't be other stuff alongside it. And I think this will top out at Bone Mare.
Yeah.
But now he's trying not to die. Muzzy's put so much pressure on. These cards aren't going to be used for hitting in the face much anymore. They're used for not dying. And Muzzy has played this incredibly well to just set it up tidily. Still not over.
Muzzy's 2 damage off of lethal this turn. And Chris contemplates the concession, but not just yet.
That hero power is just not what hero power should be, Cora. It's not right.
Murlocs all across the board.
Naught mana make a Murloc is not how the world should work if you're a priest.
Fair enough.
That's not it.
We've seen a lot of Priest, but we have not seen Murloc Priest. Now we have.
How do you... There's no way making, like, if only you could combine it with Android, so you could, like, machine gun and just make Murlocs 7 a turn.
All right, well, Muzzy not quite lethal yet. Needs to find Shadow Word Pain to be able to win the game this turn. Doesn't get it.
He just can't quite get it done. The good news for him is this isn't a matchup where the Paladin is likely to kill him from nowhere. This is a matchup where the Paladin's trying to kill you in turn 4. So even if
this isn't Uther of the Ebon Blade plus Burgly Bully plus Auction Master Beardo OTK. We're not playing that game. Unless
Chris picks up like second Bone Mare really soon, Muzzy should be able to, yeah, there it goes. It's all over. 2-1 though, not actually all over, just this game.
Chris can still bring this one back, but Muzzy is looking in prime form to take this series and take himself all the way to the top 16, meeting his good friend and good rival, Zalay, fighting for their spot at the World Championships. So much more on the line here than just a DreamHack title for Muzzy.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting if both of them can meet the top 16. Hopefully Chris gets in there as well, even if he loses this, but I think Muzzy Zalay is the thing everyone wants to see. Apart from maybe Muzzy and Zalay, who would very much like the other guy to be knocked out. So Chris here has got the Pirate Warrior. We did just see Cydonia 20-minute kill Swarm with Pirates.
That was a quick one.
Straight through that. So, you know, it is still possible for Chris here, but patches in the opening hand on a day like this, in a situation like this, trying to go to 2 DreamHack top 16s in a row. He won the Swiss in Atlanta.
Chrisleblanc, I think, actually started 0-2 yesterday and has since won 6 in a row.
So he is not in a good spot in tiebreakers at all.
Muzzy needs to stave off the early aggression, keep his life total healthy if he possibly can. To do that, he's gonna need to find Doomsayer, Gluttonous Ooze. Mind Blast, a natural copy in the deck, works very well with Prophet Valen against other priests.
Sure.
Not so much against Pirate Warrior.
The key is keeping the tech cards to a minimum, and also the amount of card draw that Muzzy has. If you only have 1 or 2 tech cards, you find them that much faster. You don't just find your combo faster, you find all your tech cards and everything faster as well, so you can afford to play a little bit more teched out than normal.
Yeah, I mean, Chris elected to go with Mukla in his priest, and Muzzy has just gone full Prophet Velen OTK with Mind Blast.
Yeah, and just, I mean, Gnomish is such an interesting card in priest right now. That card appears in so many decks from time to time and then gets forgotten about again.
I mean, it was a really, really good card in Patron Warrior for a very long time.
It's just so bizarre. They just go missing and then suddenly it turns up in OTK Priest.
The value of draw is so high in these combo decks that you're willing to play severely understated minions just to cycle.
Yeah, and this doesn't work like, say, Reno Lock worked, where you could just tap a button and draw some more cards, and all your cards kind of did the same thing, to be honest. A lot of the Highlander Priest cards do different things, and you really need to draw a lot of series of 2-card combos. So all that card draw really helps you find the 2-card combo you're looking for.
So Spellbreaker is usually at its strongest when you're silencing a taunt to push for lethal damage, but if you can silence an Acolyte of Pain and then push damage instead of having to remove it with the threat of your opponent drawing many cards.
Yeah, we saw how quickly Sidonia won when he just silenced the Tar Creeper.
Yeah.
Just because the shape is naturally great against Priest, and you get it done really quickly.
Just because he could push 4 damage off of Corcoran through it.
Yeah.
So maybe Spellbreaker's good enough that way. Chris disagrees. He'd rather develop the second Frothing Berserker. I certainly can't blame him here because it's still 1 turn off of Dragonfire Potion for Muzzy. So what does he have that can remove this board?
I feel like Patron Warrior heard you and just turned up for a quick return.
It's like, we don't need Patron. We've got Frothing Berserker.
Yeah.
Maybe you've met him.
Just came back for a little while. What's happening? As he's hiding up as much as he physically can.
The potion and the double trade is going to clear up this entire board, and Chrisleblanc looks not super happy right now.
Yeah, is that sort of resigned happiness?
It was
that I've given up happiness.
It was a 3-card clear, a bit convoluted, but Muzzy is one of the best players in the world. He's going to see the lines.
Yeah, Muzzy will definitely see the lines. He will have seen them a long time ago. So, looking forward to see if Chris can find a way. It's only 14. We've made mistakes against Priest before with Pirates, where it's like, oh, he's 16 away, it's all over. But sometimes that damage just turns up over 1 or 2 turns.
Most importantly, Chris hasn't found a weapon yet this game.
Right.
He's got 3 cards in hand that interact with weapons especially well, and he has not been able to make use of them. The Heroic Strike can deal 4 on its own, but you'd like to have that repetitive weapon damage to be able to push lethal that much faster.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the fact that Pirate Warrior, when it doesn't draw a weapon, is just such a stunted deck.
Warrior. I mean, we saw Sidonia not play Pirates, but because he had weapons, he won the game.
Yeah. But the other way around, just a collection of pirates.
Not quite as effective.
Not at all. They could do with a cannon. That's what they need. Those pilots.
Let's not get started on that wild meta. Muzzy picks up Spirit Lash, going to give him a nice trade into the Dread Corsair. 4 additional health never hurts. He can even silence the Dread Corsair if he wants to kill the Spellbreaker and take 1 more damage off the board.
Yeah.
But you're at 19. You're feeling pretty safe.
He's feeling okay for now. He will be aware that the weapon thing, that the weapons will definitely be coming very, very soon. And this is a lot of damage coming from hand this turn as well.
I mean, we have seen some Pirate Warriors, not necessarily in this tournament, running Forge of Souls. Because if you don't draw your weapons, it is so detrimental to your ability to play the deck at its highest potential. You lose a lot of tempo in the early game if you play Forge of Souls, but in the later game, you know, you've got 9 mana, Forge of Souls, you can play Arcanite Reaper right away.
Yeah, and it's just a way of having an extra weapon, and maybe we'll see more of that after the nerfs as a way to continue playing this sort of deck.
Muzzy going to make the most of his Lyra turn, but his life total getting a little scary now.
Yeah, so he's...
Ooh.
How bad is this? I mean, it's bad, right? This is a lot of damage.
I mean, Muzzy's essentially at 9.
So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because you can buff the weapon as well.
5, 6, 7, 8, 12.
1 off lethal.
If that weapon was any other weapon.
A real weapon. What can Muzzy even do about this next turn?
He's got the Holy Fire, can heal him for 5.
And
the Lyra's a nice trade tool.
Okay, Lyra stays on board. Important start. Muzzy needs to draw a lot of good stuff from this. This is a good start.
Okay, so Muzzy's got the full clear, Holy Fire, the Cultist, Lyra into the Corcoran, Smite, the 2-1, and then you can even heal yourself on the backswing, so Muzzy can go back up to 12. He can also just Gluttonous Ooze the weapon and gain 2, but he leaves the 2-1 on the board.
Okay.
But he's gonna go
he's
for
gonna get full
the
Lyra
very
action.
safe plan.
And of course the Lyra is still there, which doesn't have to be dealt with, but being on 12, Chris hasn't quite got enough force to worry about. And that Lyra fetched to death, by the way.
It did, and it also fetched an Eternal Servitude. So you could try to get Lyra back if you really, really miss her already, but the Elise pickup fills out the curve very nicely. No Raza has been played for Muzzy yet, so he's still firing off 2-mana hero powers every turn. The humanity, I know.
14 and climbing. There's a weapon. You're right, Chris, you got a weapon, don't worry about it.
It's 14 damage over 2 turns, but with Muzzy's hero power, it will still be just a little bit out of range. 3 of the cards in Chris's deck now are weapons.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, and there's goodbye. Chris has seen enough of that. Muzzy makes it into the top 16 where he joins Zalay and many others who we're going to recap at some point. But both of the players we've concentrated on throughout this tournament in the top 16. Got to remember that Chris was winner of the Swiss at Atlanta, came so close to repeating 2 top 16s in a row. Fantastic performance from him, but it's likely that's the last we've seen of him here in Montreal, just because his tiebreakers look pretty grim.
You know, I could say I'm surprised that both Muzzy and Zalay got into the top 16, but who are we kidding? I'm not surprised. These two have been gunning for each other for the entire year. They want that spot at the World Championships. This is one of the ways that they can get the edge over the other player in the form of HCT points and try to get that spot, and they are still 100% neck and neck. Going into the top 16 where deck lists are revealed, it is single elimination from then on out. But that is where the money and the points and the pride do begin. So huge congratulations go out to Chris for making it this far, but it is going to be Muzzy in the top 16.
Along with Sidonia, who just, we almost forgot that game existed.